All right. Well, with these videos here, I've been catching up with. We've looked at Globes, we've looked at BAFTA. Time to leave the best for last. We're looking at the Oscars. All right. Now, just to let you guys know, I was originally going to do this in two parts. I was going to do the top 8 categories first, and then we'll look at all the tech categories and stuff, especially since we've got all the short lists out now. We kind of know a little bit where a few directions here and there where the Academy's leaning, but obviously, that's a start. That doesn't automatically mean we're going to get everything right just because we have that. But that all being said, we're going to move on now to this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and just go down the whole thing here, and we'll we'll see how far you hang in there with me. Okay, so we'll just start at the top and work our way down. So Best Picture up first, and I recently, I've had Beale Street could talk out front not all season, but a good part of the season here. I had what did I have out front early? I forget. Didn't I have Beale Street? I can't remember which one it was. Shit. Oh well. I think I had something out front first. It wasn't. I had First Man. That's right. I had First Man out front first, and then after a little bit, then Beale Street kind of came out with that second trailer, and it did well at Toronto and a few of the other ones. So I was like, yeah, I'll pick Beale Street. I have it down in 7th place now. Yeah, it has. It's gotten in. Yeah, it's in for Best Picture at the Globes for the drama race, and it got a couple of nods here and there at Critics' Choice, and it got skunked at the SAG. So then I'm like, okay, yeah, so that one's probably out for picture for the win. I think it'll get in, but yeah. So I went a totally different direction now for Best Picture, and yeah, if you've been following me all season, you know that movie, that little movie. What's it called? Star is Born. Yeah, I think it'll win. Yeah, I know. I know. When I talked about the movie the first time, I said, yeah, it was good. Wasn't great. Yeah, I still feel about that. Actually, I rewatched it the other day. I'll tell you what, this time around, because the first time around, I was not extremely impressed with Lady Gaga's performance. I was like, yeah, she hit her marks and she, you know, remembered her lines. We think, we think she didn't improvise her entire part in the movie. Not that we know of. But I'll tell you what, though, this time I watched the second time. I was a little. Some of her dramatic moments, I think, landed a little better for me the second time. So does that automatically mean she's in for my personal picks for who should win Best Actress? No, she's not in my top 5. No, not when you got people like Amandla Stenberg in Hate You Give, phenomenal performance. Saoirse Ronan, Mary Queen of Scots, the best part of that movie. You've got I'd say even Glenn Close in The Wife. I thought she was good, but not great. Let's see, who else do I really like? I like Rosamund Pike in Private War. I liked Melissa McCarthy a lot in Can You Ever Forgive Me? I've got, there was one other one I was thinking of. She's not really in the race big time, but, oh well, I forgot. It'll come to me later, I'm sure, but, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, she wouldn't even make my 5, neither would Glenn Close, but, yeah, still. I think I just look at this now because my big mistake last year with 3 Billboards when I picked that one early on, and it looked like, at first it was kind of a daring pick because it's like nobody else had picked it, or not really at least. A couple people, like I know, famously on Gold Derby, Tom O'Neill had picked it, I think by mid-November, but I think I beat it by a couple days technically, but we can always go back into the record books to check that out. I might be wrong. So, and he was, very daring in his pick, and I was too, and I was like, I beat you to that one. He's the guy that runs Gold Derby, which is one of the big expert ones. And so I picked it early on because I looked at it, I'm like, well, I said, it did very well, won the audience award at TIFF. It was about to open, I think, at that time, or the opening weekend numbers were just coming in or something. I remember I picked it on the Sunday there, so I think the opening weekend numbers were good. I said Frances McDormand's getting in, Sam Rockwell's a pretty good bet. We didn't know about what's his name, Woody Harrelson yet, but he eventually made it in. And I'm like, it's probably in for editing too. That director might get in. I think it's in for screenplay. And I kind of looked at the other field there, and I was like, there's a problem with kind of every other movie. I said, but this one I feel like they'll like, and boom, and then it did well at the Globes. It got a ton of nominations there, and it did very well at SAG, led SAG for most nominated film there, and it did very well at the BAFTA nominations. Won the Globe for drama, film, and lead actress and supporting actor and screenplay. Did very well there. And then the controversies came up, and yeah, I was pretty worked up about them last year. Anyways, It turned out I just kind of defied all the divisiveness about it. I said, no, no. I said, you guys have got it wrong. You're just not reading the movie the way that the filmmaker wants you to. I mean, obviously, you can read it whatever way you want, but you can say First Man is more of a musical than La La Land is because it's got because it's got music in it. Oh, shut up. But anyways, you know, I just thought that the big controversies around it were not as big. They were kind of, in the same way that we had people arguing about Argo when that came out, and that didn't end up hurting the film all that much. Same way with Birdman, where there's a lot of arguments around Birdman of people who didn't like that one, but there were a couple vocals in a very small minority there, and so on and so forth. Um, so I was a little, didn't read it the right way that way. And I look back at it, it's like, well, obviously the big kicker for me for not picking Shape of Water was missed out at SAG for that ensemble category where Three Billboards had won. It was the most nominated film. That doesn't tend to always win. Birdman was the exception, and a couple other ones recently had been the exception. I think King's Speech had the most nominations. That won. But still, I was like, I don't know. I said there's a couple things, and then yeah, it ended up winning. So I kind of look back at it again, and I was like, after the race was over, I was like, well, it was really one of the few films that people didn't really have a problem with, and if they had a problem with it, they were in the very vocal minority. I feel like that's A Star Is Born this year, because I kind of look down the field again. Green Book right now I have in second place, but that's just because maybe if it wins at the Globes, maybe it can pick up from there, maybe. But even then, its win at the Globes is not certain at this point. That's got a couple controversies swirling around it. The number one was Viggo Mortensen using the N-word in a press conference when he had no reason to, or yeah, it was kind of random. And then the second one now is a little more active, is the Don Shirley family kind of coming forward and saying, yeah, the movie's bullshit for historical accuracy and all that, which again, kind of the same deal. I kind of talked about it a little bit when I first saw the film, and that was, there's, narrative is about change and so on and so forth, and if Don Shirley was, by the end of the film, he's a little more open than he was at the beginning, and it's like that wasn't totally true. Well, I think filmmakers and so on have a little bit of a license to do what they want to do and tell the stories that they want to tell. And if you have to change a couple things around to make the story a little better, so be it. But personally, I thought Green Book I think is a way better film than Star Is Born. I liked it better than Roma. Really, the only film that I have in this Best Picture list I've seen that I didn't like as much as was Black Klansman. Black Klansman, I think, is the top one for me of the nominated films here, or predicted nominated films, I should say. But yeah, that's got a couple of controversies roaming around it. Roma, in the meantime, foreign language film, never has won Best Picture. I think the director race, it could easily win Best Director. And I think cinematography's a lock. I think it'll get. The thing it's also missing too, I put it back in for screenplay. We'll get to original screenplay here in a minute, but talk about another controversy there in a little bit. But I think it gets in for screenplay too now. We're still not sure about Yalitza Aparicio though, because early on I had her in for Best Actress. I pulled her a while ago to put in Emily Blunt. We'll get to Best Actress in a little bit here too. But I mean, it kind of hurts if you don't have that acting nomination. It's like you have to go back to Lord of the Rings, I think, to have a film that was not, or Slumdog. But both of those, yeah, were missing those key acting nominations, and they still won, but they were the most nominated film. I think Roma is it's not going to be eligible at all for score because there's no original score to it. I don't see it personally getting into the sound categories. I don't see it getting into production design. It's a possibility, but I don't see it. Costumes, I think, is out. Visual effects, obviously, is out. There's a couple films that could compete in a few of those categories. Not all of them, I don't think, but a few of them here and there. Black Klansman, we don't know for sure if that one can go the distance for picture, even though I personally, it's my favorite of the predicted nominated films here. A couple people don't like it. It's got a few not controversy around it, but a couple people who just didn't really like the vision that Spike Lee had for it and stuff. And again, accuracy is another thing that some people didn't care for and kind of tackled it for. The Favorite has missed, and Black Clans, by the way, it's getting in for like SAG Ensemble and Best Picture at the Globes and stuff. But we're not sure if it's going to win all of those. And then you've got The Favorite, which missed out for SAG Ensemble, missed out for Director at the Globes, has missed a couple spots here and there. I think it'll be one of the more nominated films. It'll probably lead nominations. It led nominations at Critics' Choice. So, Yeah, Black Panther. It's got the stigma around it of being a superhero movie. It might overcome that. The social message part of it, where it's very pro-black and everything. That might you can make the same argument, of course, for Black Klansman and for Beale Street. So you kind of have to most of these voters, I think, are not gonna, because obviously when you rank these, it's one through 10 or 9 or however many they have. I don't know. I mean, obviously it could be true for some people, but I don't necessarily see everybody going Black Panther 1, Black Klansman 2, Green Book 3, Beale Street 4, or some version of that. I think some of the other films are going to be mixed up there. I don't necessarily see all of the kind of racially driven films all getting in the top slots there on the preferential ballot. Um, yeah, we mentioned Bill Street's missed out on a few Q things. Vice is very divisive amongst critics, and so far, from what I've read on Rotten Tomatoes audiences scores and stuff, amongst audiences too, it's really scoring where it counts though. McKay's getting in for director on the few early things we've got. It's getting in for film for the most part. It missed the SAG Ensemble Prize, but still got a few key nominations there. It wasn't skunked. As long as you're not skunked at SAG, it's not the end of the world. We saw that proven true last year with Shape of Water. So, and that got 2 nominations, one in the lead and one in the supporting categories. Vice got the same treatment there, so that's it's a lesser path, but it's one that could come true. But again, it has to really score well at the Oscars. It has to definitely land an editing nomination. Definitely has to get McKay in. Definitely has to be at least 2 of those acting nominations. Maybe if Sam Rockwell can creep in for supporting actor, maybe. Then my bottom 2 right now are Mary Poppins Returns. I think that one is going to really light it up in the tech categories. And I do have, like I mentioned, Emily Blunt in now for Best Actress, but it's going to be a struggle to get Rob Marshall in there for director. And yeah, the screenplay. Yeah, I don't see that making it either. And then you got First Man in there too, which again, these two are kind of reminding me a lot last year of Darkest Hour, where early on it seemed like, yeah, they're probably likely bets for director and for picture and actor, screenplay, and so on and so forth. But then the season progresses and you kind of see that one kind of falls out of this category, this category. But they're still really lighting it up in those tech categories. Same way Darkest Hour had, what was it, cinematography and production design and costume design and score and I think 1 or 2 other ones. And it ended up with 6 nominations. Or close to that. I think Gary Oldman in picture with the last 2 there. First Man very much fits that pattern. Mary Poppins, including that acting nomination, very much fits that pattern. So that's why, even though you have films like Bohemian Rhapsody, which are very much on the rise now, I think Bohemian's the next in line in this list here, and it's between Mary Poppins and First Man. I think one of those 2 could drop out if they want to put Bohemian in, to get it to at least 9 nominations. But that's the thing. Or maybe they both drop and it just lands on 9 with Bohemian. But again, with the way the preferential ballot works, it's probably going to be 9. But yeah. Anyway, so that all being said, though, I think the thing with Bohemian that's keeping me from putting it in right now is that it got the SAG Ensemble. It's in for picture drama at the Globes. It didn't get a film or a Best Film nomination at Critics' Choice, and understandably, because critics are mixed on it. Audiences, for the most part, love it. But again, outside of Rami Malek, who's pretty much a lock to get in for Best Actor, where else is it going to get nominated besides film? You look at it's like screenplay, it's a little dicey for original screenplay. Costume design, maybe, yeah. Production design, possibly. Director, hell no, not even close. Supporting actor, nope, not getting in for supporting actor anywhere. Then you're kind of lost. Maybe one of those sound categories. So yeah. It's weird because you try to, there's unless you're the Post last year, unless it's one of those where it's in for one of the acting categories in picture, kind of like the football one, Sandra Bullock, The Blind Side, unless it's that. But that was back when it was 10, no matter what, 10 nominees. This is a little different here. Yeah, I think those are the 11 I think we're circling for Best Picture here. Early on, I was thinking Can You Ever Forgive Me could maybe sneak into that 8 or 9 slot kind of list there, but that one again, it's really just I think just the 2 acting categories and screenplay is all that those are Fox Searchlight and company are going to have to settle for. Okay, now we'll move on to director here. I've still got Spike Lee out front here. I got him out front of the Globes too. I've got Alfonso Cuarón in there. I've got Yorgos in there. I've got Bradley Cooper in there, and my 5th slot right now is actually Adam McKay for Vice. Then again, like I kind of explained a little bit in the Globes video there, you've got a little bit of a IOU for him because he was not nominated the year of The Big Short at the Globes or at Critics' Choice. He got in at the DGA, got in at BAFTA, and of course got in at the Oscars. So unless they really like Vice, there's not going to be that IOU factor anymore. That's going to show those three key races there. The director race, obviously, here at the Oscars, obviously at BAFTA, and at, of course, the key ones, DGA. Those are going to show the strength or weakness of Vice in that director category. So you look at it that way. I kind of mentioned this in the other video too, where Phantom Thread last year was the one. It's like nobody that I know of caught it. That it was going to be all of a sudden in for director and in for picture at the end. It's like, wow, that came from nowhere. And there was kind of an explanation for it, I guess, or at least a theory about it, where that was one of the last ones that the screeners were sent out and stuff. That was film that potentially a lot of voters, at least enough of them, saw late in the game and said, you know what, I'm fresh off of that one. I really like that one. So they put it in for picture, and it got enough #1 votes to make it in the list. And obviously the director's branch likes Paul Thomas Anderson, so he made it in there. So you try to catch that Paul Thomas Anderson and Phantom Thread vote this year. So you try to think which one of these films, will be the last ones that voters see, the last ones that kind of catch their attention there. And I'm thinking it's down to two options here. I think it's Vice, which is opening late, had not screened at any of the festivals, and has done so far at the box office. It's done pretty okay. I think it'll pick up as it goes through the New Year holiday here, but opened on Christmas. And it's divisive among critics, but then again, Phantom Thread had a couple people that didn't like it here and there, and so on and so forth. And that one, again, kind of missed out on some of the other early precursors. Or another one that's missed out of the precursors, but at least been nominated mostly everywhere, but missed SAG, like Phantom Thread did, is If Beale Street Could Talk. And we could see, Barry Jenkins, I had him in early in second place, actually. I've moved up. Obviously, I've got Alfonso in second now to Spike Lee. And I took him out in favor of Adam McKay. But you look at it, it's like, yeah, Barry's been nominated before. Beale Street, it's a movie that some people really, really love. And, and again, the critics on it, there's a couple, but none of them, a lot of critics, I think, are, if they're disappointed anywhere, it's just because it's not as effective as Moonlight, or they didn't love it as much as Moonlight. But anyways, which, for me personally, it's like I don't see that as a valid argument for why it should all of a sudden be a film you don't like, just because you had high standards and it didn't quite measure up to them, just because it's the same director or whatever. It's like, I kind of let some of that stuff go when I review films. So, anyways, but another one, obviously, Peter Farrelly, I think is definitely going to still be in the competition there. He's got he's got the Globe and the Critics' Choice nominations for director behind him, and yeah, if Green Book suddenly starts to emerge, then it gets in for director at BAFTA and then gets in at the DGA, then I think he can lock up that 5th slot. But that's assuming somebody like Yorgos or Bradley Cooper still gets in at both of those. Let's see here. I think we've mentioned a few times Ryan Coogler, Black Panther, but it's like he missed out. There were seven slots at the Critics' Choice Awards, and not one of those 7 nominees was Ryan Coogler. So that kind of puts the writing on the wall there for him, I think, for that category. But yeah. Okay, moving over to Best Actor. I've got Christian Bale still out front for Vice. Bradley Cooper in second place for Star is Born. Viggo Mortensen in third for Green Book. Rami Malek in fourth. I think it's really starting to look like a 4-way race there, depending on who wins what and where. And then I've got John David Washington now in 5th place for Black Klansman. I'm thinking, because Ethan Hawke for First Reformed is the problem here, because I think he's the next in line easily for this race here. Problem is he missed out at the Globes, and he missed out at SAG. SAG was the key one, because early on it seemed like if anyone, even if the Globes had missed First Reformed, and then Critics' Choice had missed First Reform, that would have been fine. But if Ethan Hawke made it in at SAG, I think he still would have been in the race. But the fact that he missed SAG, that was huge. So, and plus there was a controversy around the writer of the film, Paul Schrader, with recent comments he made about Kevin Spacey, and now Kevin Spacey's got himself in a whole hill of beans of trouble with that bizarre video he posted on Christmas Eve. I don't even know what to say about that. That was just bizarre. At the same time that some more accusations and now some pending charges and every or not pending charges are brought up against him, and now some pending jail time. Yeah, that's if Schrader, I think, should update his statement a little bit there, because I think he got into really a lot of hot water, and we kind of talked about it a little bit a few videos ago. But I think that could potentially cost Schrader that nomination for screenplay, and it trickle down diplomacy a little bit, or trickle down where did I get that from? Trickle down theory there that going back to Reagan's era, it's like yeah, Ethan Hawke is definitely he could also lose out because of something the director said. It doesn't happen way too often, but I think of stuff like James Franco last year. It's like it seemed like he was a lock. He was getting in everywhere, and then all of a sudden, nope, he's gone. So yeah. Anyway, and I kind of mentioned in the Bat video there, Willem Dafoe I have in there instead of John David Washington and instead of Ethan Hawke. If he lands that BAFTA nomination, he arguably gets a little leg up there, but he's got Critics' Choice, Globe, and BAFTA at that rate, whereas John David Washington only has Globe and SAG at that rate. But SAG, again, is a pretty key one there to have. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, that fifth slot's going to be a little bit of trouble, but for now I've got John David Washington in there. Best Actress, I've got the SAG 5, Glenn Close, Olivia Colman, Lady Gaga, Melissa McCarthy, and Emily Blunt. That's the thing though, is this is a pretty stacked category this year. You've got those 5. You got Yalitza Aparicio for Roma, who's she was nominated the Critics' Choice. She was the 6th nominee there, and then Toni Collette was the 7th because Critics' Choice. But anyways, it's like you gotta make it a little more competitive there, guys. Jesus Christ. But anyways, Yalitza I think is definitely if one of these fall out, one of these 5 fall out, then Yalitza I think is the first one to pick up that slot. And then even on down the list, you've got Saoirse Ronan, Mary Queen of Scots is one. I love that performance. It's the best part of the freaking movie. It's the only part of the movie I liked really. Viola Davis is a lot of fun in Widows, but again that one is starting to fall off too. So I think it's down to those 6/7, because Toni Collette's another one. She got that Critics' Choice nomination, but she's fallen everywhere else. She's gotten a few Critics' Prizes. She got nominated at, she won the Gotham and was nominated, I think, at Indie Spirits, if I remember correctly. So, she's got a few signs of support, but, that's a tough lineup to break into. So, yeah. So I'm going to stick with those 5, I think, until something else major happens. For the supporting actor 5, I've still got Richard E. Grant out front. I think he's still got a path to win that Oscar there for sure. Mahershala, especially if the voters look at him and he's like, well, we just gave it to him a couple of years ago, And plus, I think about it too in this way. Mahershala, if he wins the second time, he goes in that 2 for 2 crowd. That's a very select crowd. You've got Christoph Waltz in that crowd. You got Kevin Spacey in that crowd. You got Hilary Swank in that crowd. Until recently, you had Sally Field in that crowd. It's like that's a very select crowd where you win every time. It's like you can even go back to I think Walter Brennan lost a couple of nominations here and there. So it's like it's a very select crowd, and it's like obviously he's got a few years in front of him. He can obviously get a few more nominations and stuff. So it's like. Yeah, that's a very, very select crowd. But then again, you look at it, it's like Christoph Waltz won 2 Oscars in 3 years. If I got the math right on that, yeah. So it's like, it could happen, but it's, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. Or is it? No, he won 2 Oscars in 4 years. That's what it was. 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So anyways, you get what I mean. So, yeah, I've got Richard Grant in front, then Mahershala, then I've got Timothée Chalamet still in for Beautiful Boy, Adam Driver in 4th place for BlacKkKlansman, and Sam Elliott down in 5th for A Star Is Born. Again, I think Sam would be the first to go since he missed out on that Globe. Everybody else has gotten in everywhere. I think Michael B. Jordan, again, we're still kind of talking about a few things for Black Panther there. He would be the one to get in for that acting race for Black Panther. But I've got my eye more on Sam Rockwell here because he got the Globe nomination in over Sam Elliott, but that might have been just because they liked Vice a little more than everybody else did. But also you look at it too, again with that going off that theory of the last screener they put in or the last movie they see, whatever, before nominations get the final votes come in. It's like if Vice is that film and it's enough people, the same way again like Leslie Manville last year for Phantom Thread. Same thing could happen for Sam Rockwell this year in the supporting actor category. And like I said, he in the film, I thought he was a lot of fun as George W. Bush. Now, is it like standing up as one of the best performances of the year in this category? I didn't like him any better. I didn't like him better than Richard E. Grant. Didn't like him better than Mahershala. Didn't like him better than Timothée. Didn't like, well, okay, Sam Elliott. Okay, they're about on the same playing field because they're both kind of restricted in their screen time. Adam Driver had a lot more screen time, a lot more involving role in Black Klansman. So, yeah. Didn't like him as much as Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther. For me personally, I think, well, Daniel Kaluuya and also gets into that crowd of limited screen time, but very impressive performance of what they're given. So, yeah. I'm just naming off a couple of the other ones here. I'm still, I mean, Russell Hornsby for The Hate You Give is still, I think that's, for me personally, that's the performance to beat this year in supporting actor. I mean, that's an incredible performance, but he's clear out to lunch, unfortunately. All right. Okay, supporting actress. We talked about in the Globe video there with Regina King, where if she misses out at BAFTA, we would talk about the BAFTA video too, but if she misses out at BAFTA, then she becomes this year's Sylvester Stallone. But the key difference there again is that Sylvester Stallone was not winning all the critics' prizes leading up to the nominations. And again, kind of one comparison I didn't make yet is like last year. It seemed at this stage last year it was going to be all about Laurie Metcalf in this category. And it seemed like, yeah, Allison Janney, she'll get in, and she'll get her first nomination, and yeah, it'll be great. But then at the Globes, as the Globes got closer and closer, and I kept hearing stuff of, no, they like I, Tonya. And I was like, well, look at Allison Janney. And at that point, I'd seen the film too. And I haven't seen Beale Street yet, so that might be a key difference too. But I was like, Allison Janney and I, Tonya, I'm like, I love her in that role. I'm like, she is dynamite in that role. I'm like, I would love to see her win. So I kind of on that, and also a little bit of word of mouth of I kept hearing I, Tonya from words of other people who had said they talked to Globe voters, said they liked it a lot. You know, like I said, sometimes that backfires on you, but sometimes it doesn't. That was a case where it didn't, and I kind of, personal bias also kind of stepped in, because Laurie Metcalf, she's good in Lady Bird. Good enough to win. I liked a few performances better last year. So I picked Allison Janney to win that one, and part of personal bias and personal preference, and also word of mouth also, kind of helped me get that win there. Now with the Globes there, yeah, so that could be the spot, because I think if it's not going to be Regina, I think it's now Amy Adams who can take it up, because she's got the 5 losses. She'll go 0 for 6 if she doesn't win this time. I think she'll get in, but that's assuming she gets in. She seemed a lock for Arrival, but look what happened there. So yeah, I think she's at 5, right? She's at 5. She's got Spring Cleaning or whatever that one was, American Hustle. She's got The Fighter. The Master, and what's the 5th? Isn't she 5 or is it 4? I forget. I need to double check this now. Yeah, because I can't think of that 5th nomination here. Words and nominations, Academy Awards. Junebug is the one sorry, not Spring Clean. Junebug. Doubt is the one I'm missing. Okay, so yeah, she's 0 for 5. Yeah, this would be, and most of those nominations, by the way, are in supporting actress, so kind of fits the mold that she would get nominated again in supporting actress. So that's the thing, is yeah, if she could be like Allison Janney last year, where it seems all the critics' prizes are going here, but then, no, we like this performance a little better. It's a little more dynamic, it's a little more in your face, and it's a lot more fun, which I'm not sure, because that's the thing, Amy Adams in Vice, having seen that performance, having seen that film, she's in your face. She's, kind of dynamic and very powerful in the first act, but then she kind of just is in the background the rest of the movie. Yeah, so it's not that kind of villainous role that we got from Allison Janney. So that's kind of the problem there. But yeah, so I think I'm still picking Regina for that though. So yeah, I think I've got her out front, Amy Adams in 2nd, then I've got Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz in 3rd and 4th for the favorite, and then Claire Foy down in 5th for First Man. I love her in that movie, and she's magnificent. Gets some of the best parts of that movie, acting wise at least. But then again, I do like Ryan Gosling in that too. He's good. But then you've got actresses like Margot Robbie on the rise now after that SAG nomination for Mary Queen of Scots. I think the problem with her is if she gets that BAFTA nomination, I think she's got an argument. But That's the thing. She missed out at the Globes, missed out at Critics' Choice. Personally, I did not like her in the role. She added nothing to that performance. The one scene that I liked her in, I'm sure was in the script, and she probably didn't have much to add to it there. And the whole movie overall, I didn't like, except for Saoirse Ronan. So I don't know. I don't see that one getting in. If it does, I'm going to be a little ticked off. But then you got Nicole Kidman, Boy Race, who basically is playing the same role as in Lion, just a little, without the Australian accent. It's a Southern accent this time. And that's another movie that started out strong, did okay at the Globes there with a couple nominations, but since then has fallen off. So yeah, I think it's down to those seven there. But because yeah, no way in hell is Emily Blunt getting nominated for this. Come on, don't be serious with them. Anyways, so yeah, we'll move on now to the screenplay categories. Original screenplay. This is where I put Roma back in. I've got The Favorite out front still, then Green Book, then Vice, and then Roma. And then I've still got Eighth Grade in there. It's again kind of like the little independent movie that won't go away. It got a Globe nomination. Younger actress, whatever else from Critics' Choice. I think it was also in for screenplay there. And I think it'll get into WGA. I think it still qualifies for WGA. They always have weird rules, and they kick out like The Favorite's not going to be eligible there. I think Vice is ineligible there or something like that. A couple of these are ineligible there, but anyways, I think it's those five, and then maybe First Reformed still has a shot. Again, we mentioned the Paul Schrader thing with Best Actor there. Yeah, that this is him directly that you're going to vote against in that writers branch. Then again, and you look at it over the years, he is actually because I kept saying, oh, he's been nominated so many times, and I always go back and I'm like, oh shit, he's never been nominated before. So. Maybe he's never been nominated before for a reason. Yeah, because the writers branch just doesn't like him. So yeah. So that might actually still come true here, for there. Okay, then adapted screenplay. Black Klansman I've still got out front. Then Beale Street, Can You Ever Forgive Me, Star Is Born. I've still got First Man in that fifth slot, but it's really just because I'm not sure what else to do with that slot. Like I don't think Black Panther gets into that slot. Because I mean, it was nominated for adapted screenplay, I think, by Critics' Choice, but that's because they have 6 or 7 slots there, or whatever. Or did they have 5? I can't remember. Whatever it was. And you've got the next big competitor, I think, is going to be Crazy Rich Asians, which I think stands a much better shot than Black Panther does. Because number one, that's it's very reminiscent for me, and it kind of dawned on me because I'm rewatching Crazy Rich Asians almost to the end again. It reminds me very much of the NWA biopic, Straight Outta Compton, because that was a film. It came out big box office success, like Crazy Rich Asians. Opened in August, did very well critically. Very well received film, and it was a film. It was also that was a year where diversity was kind of a question and all that, and getting the African Americans nominated and so on was a problem. And it turned out to be a one place where it's like, okay, that did well. That got a SAG Ensemble nomination. Did okay at a few of the other guilds and other spots there. Crazy Rich Asians, it did okay. It got one of the big nominations for film comedy at the Globes. Got a couple nods here and there at Critics' Choice. Got one of those key SAG Ensemble nominations at SAG. I think that could easily get in over First Man for adapted screenplay. Because like Straight Outta Compton, they kind of looked down the list. There were places, it didn't have enough support for Best Picture, wasn't in for Director, couldn't quite get one of those acting nominations, and they didn't, personally at that, when you look at that the cast and the roster there of the actors, it's weird because it's like Dre and Corey Hawkins and O'Shea Jackson Jr. and who's the third one? Shoot, I'm sorry, his name's forgetting me. The guy who played Eazy-E. All three of those guys, great performances, all three of them, but are they lead or are they all lead or are they all supporting or are they where do they go, or is one lead and the other two supporting, or two lead and one support? It was kind of weird, and I think the studio at the end of the day, kind of like with Spotlight at the same year, I think they decided to go all supporting, but they just couldn't get anybody in. So screenplay ended up being the one place where they could nominate that movie. I can see that happening 100% for Crazy Rich Asians, where it's like, where that it's a little more clear because Constance Wu is clearly a lead, Harry Golding is clearly a lead, and the rest are all supporting. But does it have the traction for Best Picture? No, not quite. I don't see it getting in over the 10 I listed and Bohemian Rhapsody, so it's probably at best in 12th place. Is it in for Director? No. Is it in for any of the cast? I don't quite think so. Screenplay? you've got a slot which is kind of a little wiggly here with First Man because that one could fall out. That one has not been doing extremely well over the past, pretty much since it started screening for audiences and stuff, and it kind of tanked at the box office a little bit. So that I might move in on that one later. I'm just right now I've still got First Man, but we'll see where I go from here. But I think Crazy Rich Asians, I think I'm onto something with that Straight Outta Compton comparison. I think I'm onto something there because it's another film, kind of like the social relevance and importance of films like Black Panther, Beale Street, Hate You Give, and a few of the other racially driven films this year. There's very much that argument being made for Asian Americans and audiences in general, and then also for Asian cinema to also be kind of a little better represented by Oscars and a few other award ceremonies. So if you get that same push, I think it gets at least that. But anyways, okay. Getting into the tech categories here, we'll start with cinematography, and then we'll kind of go through here. Roma, I've still got out front here. Yeah, I think after seeing the film, yeah, no way that loses. I got First Man in there, Beale Street's in there, Favorites in there. I've got Black Panther still in there for the 5th spot, but that leaves out Star is Born. And another comparison I kind of made here was, remember back to 12 Years a Slave? That was a big time, got 3 acting nominations, in for director and picture, and a few tech categories. The one slot it missed, though, was cinematography. Maybe that's true also for Star is Born. Yeah. Yeah, I think those are the 6. Okay, so now going into film editing here. I moved up Star is Born. I had it nominated before, but now that I have it in for Best Picture, I've got that up front now. Roma I have in 2nd place. First Man, I got that one back in, but again, I'm not 100% confident in that one, but I've got it clear down 3rd. Black Klansman I fit in there. That's now in 4th place, and I put in Vice in 5th place. After seeing it, there's a clip in there. I kind of talked about it a little bit in my review of the film, but it's the scene where George W. I was going to say George Washington. Jesus, that's a different movie. George W. Bush and Cheney meet up, and they're having, Bush has got the chicken leg in his mouth and stuff, and he's chomping on that, and Cheney's kind of saying, well, if we could come to some different understanding, and stuff. He's awesome in that. So now we'll move into Best Film Editing here. I've got Star is Born out front for that one. Since I bumped it up in the Best Picture race, figured, editing I'll bump up too. Roma in 2nd place. I put First Man back in, but that's just because it did well at Critics' Choice and stuff. Got in one of those film editing things. Black Klansman I've got in 4th place. I think if it gets in for director, I can see the editing thing line up too. And I've got Vice actually in for 5th place. That's same editor as Big Short. I remember that got in that year. And also, I also like, there's a couple of good sequences like that where the editing really snaps. Like there's the scene where George W. Bush and Cheney meet up, and Bush is chomping on the chicken leg and stuff, and Cheney's sitting there like, the vice presidency is kind of a symbolic gesture, and so on and so forth. But you get what I mean. But he's also, McKay and the editor kind of cut back and forth between that, and then there's also the fly fishing thing is always, something they go back and forth in the film all the time. But there's the shot where he, it's like the hook, line, and sinker thing, kind of with Bush taking the bait for, Cheney's going to run foreign policy, he's going to run the War Department, he's going to run this, he's going to run that, and all that stuff. So, yeah. So that's the thing. This category is going to be difficult to sort out. Though we've got these 5. That leaves out the favorite, which could be, it missed out for director of the Globes, and that could still get in for film editing, though. That's a tough one. You got Black Panther in there. I previously had Widows winning this category because I looked at him like that's a popular editor, and the editor's branch will probably include him. It's Joe Walker, I believe is his name. That could still get in. Black Panther, obviously, if it really sweeps in those tech categories, gets the cinematography, production design, costume design, editing, and visual effects and everything else. It's like that could easily fit in, same way Mad Max did. You've also got an argument for Green Book, and if that one takes off in the Best Picture category, the editors might line up and like that one too. So it's like, wow, that could go any which way. So, that's a lot of options for film editing. So the 5 I have, I might drop First Man in favor of Black Panther or Widows or The Favorite. I think those are the first 3 I would go to. I don't know if they're in that order, though. I don't know. But, yeah. But, yeah, we've seen, and also, speaking of Widows again for a second here, We have seen a kind of a recent track record of films that get nominated in film editing that miss out for Best Picture, aren't necessarily Best Picture players, like Force Awakens um, a few years ago, and then last year both Baby Driver and I, Tonya missed out on Best Picture, but they were both in for that film editing category. So that's the road I think Widows would have to take, because I think that actually that might be the only nomination that Widows gets on Oscar morning potentially. Okay, costume design. I think the favorite is still out front here. Then Black Panther, and then I've got Mary Queen of Scots in there. I've got Mary Poppins in there as well. The both of the Marys, and I've got Bohemian Rhapsody now in that fifth slot. I took out Colette because that one is kind of out of sight, out of mind now. This could be also another category potentially where Crazy Rich Asians could get in. There's a lot of costume changes and stuff in the movie, and again, it's kind of set on in Singapore and stuff. So you get a little bit of some different scenery and costumes with that. So the production design category is also another one where Crazy Rich Asians could strike, and it did. If I remember correctly, Crazy Rich Asians did get one of those production design, production design nominations at Critics' Choice. And speaking of production design, I've got uh, those films, except I have the favorite, Black Panther, then I have First Man in there for the moon sequences and stuff, then Mary Poppins, and then Mary Queen of Scots. So, yeah. But yeah, production design is another one where, yeah, Crazy Rich Asians could get in. We could see Roma potentially get in. I believe that was another nomination at Critics' Choice for production design. Yeah, I think we're down to those seven-ish nominations there. Okay, what else have we gotten to? Makeup and hairstyling. That's always an interesting category. Really, the seven films that made the short list, you've got Vice, you got Black Panther, you got Border, I don't know what that is, Mary Queen of Scots, you got Suspiria, you've got Bohemian Rhapsody, and Stan and Ollie. I've got Stan and Ollie in because very reminiscent, like I said, of stuff like the man who shat his pants on the park bench or whatever that movie was. You've got Mary Queen of Scots, obviously has the stuff with Queen of England with Margot Robbie. There's a smallpox scene where she gets a lot of makeup there. Vice, obviously, there's some prosthetics and stuff on Christian Bale and on a little bit with Amy Adams, and I think a little bit also with Steve Carell and Sam Rockwell. Maybe got a little bit of touch-ups here and there. Black Panther, definitely an option. There's a lot of face paint, a lot of different things here and there in that film that are makeup oriented there. I think I was going to say Suspiria maybe, but no. The Bohemian Rhapsody also, the physical transformation of Freddie Mercury from the 70s to the 80s look with the tash and everything. There's a little bit of makeup work in that, and also the incisors or whatever to make him try to have that bigger looking mouth like Freddie did. That could count, and potentially get in. But that being said, though, you think about it, it's like Bohemian did score, one of the not nominations, excuse me, one of the shortlist ones here. So that doesn't always mean that it's one that generally the Academy is looking fondly upon. But yeah, it could be a sign. Same with Suspiria though, because Suspiria's made the shortlist here and also made the shortlist for the song category too. Doesn't mean it's going to get in, but yeah, personally, it's another movie. It's one that I didn't really, there's like moments in there, but then there's other parts where I'm just like, yeah, I have to just kind of respect the balls on the filmmaker to go that far with it and stuff. Let's see here. Then we've got original. We'll do the song categories now, or the music categories, excuse me. So score, I'm still thinking First Man's out front here. Obviously, I have Mary Poppins winning the Globe. If Mary Poppins wins the Globe and then wins it Critics' Choice or something, then it might just become just a Mary Poppins show. But I think the score for First Man was very good. Beale Street, I have in second place. That's a score a lot of people are talking about. Black Panther, I think, still gets in there for Ludwig Göransson. Mary Poppins, as we mentioned, and Isle of Dogs is Alexander Desplat. They love him, so yeah, he'll get a slot. I think Black Klansman, the score for that has been getting a few notices here and there. It's again a score. I think I mentioned it last time. It's a score you don't really pay attention to it the first time, but the more I've rewatched the film and stuff, the more it kind of sticks out in on later watches and stuff. Anyways, but yeah. Then a few people are still. Quiet Place got a nomination at the Globes, so that made the short list too. Personally, I don't see that one really being a big Oscar player, except for the sound categories, really. Yeah. See what else are people talking about. I was glad to see Avengers: Infinity War make the short list for score. I like that score by Alan Silvestri. He's always does a good job. Crazy Rich Asians made the short list too, and that's again it's kind of a big band kind of score film, and I don't know if it's got enough skin in the game there to get the nomination. But I don't know. Maybe keep an eye out for that one. Okay, song category. I'm thinking "Shallow" for "Star Is Born," obviously out front. I've got the Mary Poppins songs. Those are the thing. It's like two of them made the short list there. Only one made the short list for "Star Is Born." So got "Triple Little Light Fantastic," and you've got "The Place Where Lost Things Go." Now, "Triple Little Light Fantastic" is very much in the style, or not the style, but in the theme of Chim Chimery, which of course won back in '64. So that's why I have that one in second place. I don't have "Where the Lost Things Go" nominated, but instead I've got "All the Stars" from Black Panther. I've got "Girl in the Movies" from Dumplin', which made the nominations at Critics' Choice and the Globes. So it's Dolly Parton. They tend to nominate her. And I've got "I'll Fight" from the documentary RBG, which I believe I also have in the documentary feature category. So yeah. I think those are the five I'm going with. Again, "Place Where Lost Things Go" could swap in for "Triple Little Light Fantastic." It could maybe get in over "The Girl in the Movies" or the "I'll Fight" song. But I think the "All the Stars," "Shallow," and at least one of the Mary Poppins songs are pretty much locks in this category. Let's see, "Revelation" was nominated by the Globes, but I don't see that going. I don't know if that one will go any further or not. Let's see here. Oh, we skipped the animated feature, didn't we? Yeah. I've still got the same five: Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Spider-Man, and Murray. There, yeah, no story there. Let's see. While we're at it here, let's get to documentary and foreign film before we get into the before we get into the short categories, which is the first here, and before we get into the sound and visual effects categories too. So documentary, having now seen "Won't You Be My Neighbor," it wasn't the big life-changing experience that everybody said it would be, but I still like it. So I think, yeah, it'll probably still win. It's not always been a huge player here with some of the other some of the Critics' Prize and stuff, but sometimes if you got a really populist kind of documentary like that, they like to go with stuff like "Hale County This Morning This Evening" or "Minding the Gap" or "Three Identical Strangers." Some of these other kind of the other documentaries this year that have gotten critical praise, and while they weren't as high at the box office, still got some attention there. I also got Free Solo. Okay, so let me correct this here. So I've got "Won't You Be My Neighbor" out first, then Free Solo, then Three Identical Strangers in third place, ironically. RBG I have in fourth place, and then Minding the Gap in fifth place there. I know Hale County This Morning This Evening won the doc category at Gotham. I think it got a couple other notices. Shirkers is one I've heard a lot. Crime Plus Punishment is one. I've been hearing about, yeah, I didn't hear about any of the other ones there that made the short list. Foreign film, we've got 9 films in contention here. The 5 I have in are Roma, Cold War, Shoplifters, Capernaum, and Burning. And Burning did very well, by the way, at LA Film Critics Society. The other 4 are Never Look Away, which I've heard about. Some people like that one. The Guilty, another one I've heard a lot of people like. The last 2 are Birds of Passage and Akya, or Aka. So I'm not sure about that one. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, Burning I think gets in. Capernaum has been getting in everywhere. Shoplifters has been getting in everywhere. Cold War was, a pretty big player there, and for Poland and stuff. And then Roma, obviously, yeah. So yeah, Burning was really the one I was like, okay, is that one getting in? Because it did well with LA, so I can maybe see that one still getting in. If not, I think it's Never Look Away or The Guilty. So it's down to those, what would that be, 7 films there. Okay, now to the sound categories. We'll start with the sound mixing category here. I've still got First Man out front for both of these categories, but for the mixing one, I've got First Man, Star Is Born, Black Panther, Mary Poppins, and A Quiet Place. And sound editing, I have a couple different ones. I have First Man, then Black Panther, then I've got Mission Impossible Fallout in there, Avengers Infinity War still in, and I've got not Black Panther, I already named that one, A Quiet Place in 5th place there. I'd say both these categories look out for something like Incredibles 2. Sometimes the Pixar films get in there. Roma has been one, I guess it's been bandied about here in these sound categories, but I don't see it pulling a Birdman and all of a sudden sneaking into the sound categories. I don't know. I'll say it to cover my ass just in case. Okay, visual effects. Again, we kind of mentioned this with, like Crazy Rich Asians at least getting the one nomination and stuff. That might still come to pass, but I think there's going to be an uproar if Black Panther does not take at least one Oscar win on Oscar night. I think visual effects might be a safe place to award it there. So I think I have winning that one. I have Avengers in 2nd place, Ready Player One I have getting in there. First Man I have in 4th place, and Mary Poppins Returns in 5th, but that's kind of just based on, popularity and stuff. And I look at the other 5 films made the short list, and none of them are popping out to me. None. You got Welcome to Marwen, which I hated the doll stuff. I mean, is it, for the visual effects stuff, is it good work? I mean, sure, I guess, but I just personally, the story wise and everything, I don't know if voters will get through that one if they've even seen it. Solo, Star Wars story is also on the short list there, and keep in mind that no Star Wars movie before this has ever not been given at least one Oscar nomination, with the exception of the animated Clone Wars movie, but we don't count that one. So this will be the first time ever, actually, if a Star Wars movie misses at the Oscars. But I don't know. It's like it was such a big story when it came out because it lost money for Lucasfilm and Disney, and critically it was relatively mixed. Audiences were relatively mixed on it. Most of the Star Wars fans didn't care for it. So it was kind of in one ear out the other kind of movie. So unlike most other Star Wars films, which are the big films of the summer or of the winter, now that they come out in winter. But yeah. Anyways, then we've got Ant-Man and the Wasp also made the list, but I don't know. All 3 of the Marvel movies made the list for SAG's stunt ensemble, and I believe all 3 got in for visual effects with broadcast film critics. But I don't think the Oscars are going to go that way. We haven't seen them do that, really. Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, excuse me, is also on the short list. No. I don't know. There's such a bad stink around that movie. At least me, I hated it. But yeah, and Christopher Robin is also in there. But again, I don't think they'll go for that one. So I have these 5. But yeah. Okay. Let's see. That just leaves the 3 short categories of the damn shorts. Let's see. We've got animated short. We'll go with that one first. I've got Bao out front. That's the short that played in front of Incredibles 2. Very good. Yeah, I like that one a lot. Didn't quite have the emotional impact on me that it did have on a lot of others, but it's one I watched again when I got the Blu-ray for Incredibles, and I was like, yeah, that was very good. That was very cute. I've got Bilby in there, Animal Behavior, Lost and Found, and Late Afternoon. Those all 5 made the short list. We've also got Weekends, Bird Karma, Age of Sail, One Small Step, and Pepe Le Morse. Yeah, the ones that are making the waves are obviously Bao is Pixar. They traditionally do very well in this category, even when like Finding Dory is not even nominated. The short for that one, Piper won. So yeah, I think that's the one that's made the biggest one here. I think Animal Behavior and Lost and Found are also ones they're talking about here, but the other ones I just kind of put in there. Documentary short. I've got Black Sheep out front. I haven't looked up much on these yet, but anyways, then you've got Zion, which I think has something to do with a jail or a prison thing. Endgame, which funny, I put that in just because Avengers Endgame was the same title, so it's like there might be some confusion there. Woman of the Gulag. I think that's when it comes to these kind of documentary categories and documentary shorts, especially, tend to go with the World War II Nazi concentration camp ones. Those tend to get in. So I have that one in. And then Period, End of Sentence is, I think that has to do with the Me Too movement or something, potentially. So yeah, you try to find some of the more bigger subject matter ones here. The other 5 are Los Comandos, 63 Boycott, Lifeboat, A Night at the Garden, and My Dead Dad's Porno Tapes. Sounds like a scene out of Welcome to Marwen. Yeah. So again, those 5, you kind of, when you look at it, it's like, yeah, prison films usually make it in. Anything to do with Nazisms or concentration camps usually gets in. If there's like a big, like we saw DeKalb Elementary was a big front runner in this category until it lost last year. So yeah, those tend to get in. Okay, then with live action short, I've got Caroline out front. I guess that's one people have been talking about. Marguerite is another one. Skin I've got in there. I Care and Detainment. Detainment I put in just because it sounds like another kind of prison, or at least something like that. And those movies tend to do pretty well in these categories. We saw Traffic Stop on the 405 won last year in the live action short. That one kind of surprised. So yeah, we also got is it Farve or Fauve, something like that. Oh God, I can't pronounce these. Chuchtage. I tried. Mayday, Whale, and Mother. Okay, I can get the last three. Yeah, again, I haven't looked up way too much on the subject matter of these, so if I got any of those wrong, then I will look further into these in the coming weeks and stuff. Definitely before the Oscar nominations come out. So yeah, there. I think we got all 24 categories. All right, so yeah, I think it's the first time this year we've gotten to all 24 categories. But yeah, when the short lists come out and stuff, that's when I start to really say, okay, so those short categories that I have no clue on, because I usually, unless they're in front of a Pixar movie or something, or unless they're, like the Kobe Bryant one last year, or that one was one that the word got out around it before it got nominated and stuff. Unless it's something like that, where it's a pretty popular one that catches the media and stuff. Most of the time, I just hear about them when they finally get nominated and stuff. So yeah. So that's what I got for that. Yeah, that'll pretty much do it here for our little update here. We'll get more info definitely before the Globes come out. We'll have another prediction video on those. I'm gonna try to do the live reactions to BAFTA nominations. We'll see how that goes. It'll be where I'm at. It'll be I think 2 a.m. or something. So we'll see. And let's see what else is going to happen in the next couple of weeks. I think we've got. Just pull up my handy dandy awards calendar here. Let's see here. I looked up the Rotten Tomatoes one is one I've been using here. As we entered, again, I'm recording these all on the last day of 2018 here with December 31st. See, we've got coming up here in January. We've got PGA nominations come out on January 4th. I'll do a prediction video before that comes out. We've got National Society of Film Critic Awards on Saturday the 5th. We can kind of mention that some other time. Let's see here. WGA nominations come out on the 7th of January, so we'll discuss those when they come out. DGA nominations come out the next day, Tuesday the 8th, so we can definitely talk about those. Let's see, then that's when most of the major guilds then will kick in. We got Cinema Audio Societies this same day as the Directors Guild. We've got Costume and Makeup Guilds announce their nominations on Thursday the 10th. Critics' Choice Awards are on January 13th. We'll get another kind of final predictions video up in time for that. Visual Effects Society nominations come out the week after that. PGA, actually, they're going to name their winner before the Oscar nominations come out. I think they did that last year, too. And then, of course, we've got the Oscar nominations on the 22nd, and we'll get the Screen Actor Guild Awards in the last Sunday of January. All right, so yeah, there's now that the Christmas break and New Year's break and all that, holiday break, whatever you want to call it, is wrapping up. We'll get back into the heat of the awards season, and we're going to catch you guys a little later.